Hello and welcome to Badger Talks Quick Picks, which provide exciting happenings, resources, and talent from your UW flagship campus to the people of Wisconsin and beyond. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Huddleston, the director of the Plant Disease Diagnostics Clinic at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I'm really happy to be here today to introduce my longtime friend and colleague, Lisa Johnson, who is the Dane County Extension Horticulture Educator. Lisa's here today to talk a little bit about butterfly gardening. And I know she's going to be telling you a lot about these really interesting and beautiful insects and how to establish and design a garden in your own home landscape to attract these insects so that they can feed and reproduce. And I know if you listen to her advice, you'll be able to end up having a really beautiful garden in your own landscape that will attract a lot of different types of butterflies for many years to come. Lisa has a real passion for plants. I should know this. She and I first met when we were teenagers, actually, in high school, and we ended up working together in our high school's plant room. And she followed that passion to earn a bachelor's degree in horticulture, and then later on a master's degree in life sciences communication from the University of Wisconsin. She spent 8 years after that working as a professional horticulturist, and then joined Extension around 2000 as the Dane County Extension Horticulture Educator. And in that particular role, she's been spending a lot of time sharing her passion about plants with a wide range of different clientele, from home gardeners all the way to green industry professionals. And I think one of the things she's probably most proud of in terms of developing educational tools for her clientele is her plant disease teaching garden that surrounds her office at Dane County Extension. And if you're ever in the Madison area, I really recommend that you stop by and take a look at that. She works with a wide range of horticulture-related groups, including the Tree Canopy Collaborative and the Dane County Tree Board. And you can watch for her weekly newspaper column in the Wisconsin State Journal. And if you listen to radio, I suggest that you tune in to Larry Meiller's Garden Talk program on Wisconsin Public Radio. And with that, I would like to have you join me in giving Lisa Johnson a really warm welcome to Badger Talks.
Thank you, Brian. So today I'm going to be talking about butterfly garden design. Learning about the butterfly species in your area is a great place to start in your journey of planning a butterfly garden. Remember, you're going to need both nectar plants for adult butterflies as well as larval food for caterpillars. And the Southern Wisconsin Butterfly Association is a great place to go for more information. We'll talk more about that later. Now, butterflies will only lay eggs where emerging caterpillars have a plentiful food source when they hatch. So it's really important to have those critical plants. And female butterflies can be really choosy about their egg-laying sites. So if they don't find the appropriate plant, they will not lay eggs. And do keep in mind that larval host plants are planted to be eaten, so you do need to be accepting of some damage on those plants. You should have something blooming from April to October. And think about not only the plant species and when they bloom, but also the shapes and colors of the flowers. Butterflies, with some exceptions, do tend to like brightly colored flowers. They also like flowers that have a good landing and perching surface. So that's flat, broad flowers such as black-eyed Susans or zinnias, or clusters of smaller flowers like milkweed, Joe Pye weed, or mountain mint. You can find charts like this, one of which I'll tell you about at the end of the presentation, that have bloom times, colors of flowers, and when they're blooming for different plants to attract butterflies. Site your butterfly gardens in sun. That's because butterflies are cold-blooded and they need the sunlight to warm up their flight muscles. Now, you don't have to necessarily start a whole new garden to support butterflies. You can work support plants into your existing gardens, but do have a variety of plants to provide the butterflies with good nutrition. It's really great if you can have some rocks for butterflies to bask on, where you may see them opening and closing their wings. What they're doing is absorbing heat from the sun and using that motion to disperse the heat evenly on their flight muscles. But if you don't happen to have rocks, if you have decks or a wooden post or even cement, sometimes can work very well for butterfly basking. Now, you may have seen this out hiking in nature, where butterflies are kind of clustered along streams or rivers where there is mud. And what they're doing is they're ingesting minerals and nutrients from the water and mud. And this behavior is called puddling. Males do this especially because they need the extra amino acids for their reproduction. Now, if you don't happen to have a river or stream, you can easily make a puddling station with a pie tin, a bird bath, or saucer, or you can use overripe fruit. That works really well too. Just be sure to empty it regularly so that you don't end up attracting flies and yellow jackets and so on. Also, if the water remains for 6 days without a change, you can start breeding mosquitoes there, and nobody wants to do that. Make sure also that it isn't too deep for your butterflies. If you prefer, you can combine your water source with a puddling area. This is the Dane County Extension solar water fountain in the pollinator garden, in our teaching garden. And that just flows enough to keep the rocks wet so that butterflies can puddle there. But it also supports other pollinators. And if you prefer something more ornamental looking, you can certainly create something like this. Just make sure that it's high enough that the container doesn't have too much water in it. You don't want your butterflies to drown in that. The last thing that butterflies need is overwintering sites. And they may overwinter as eggs, various stages of caterpillar or pupae, or even adults. They go into diapause, which is a hibernation stage, and their bodies manufacture glycogen, which is an antifreeze-like compound that allows them to survive the winter. And they may shelter in bark or structures or under fallen leaves, etc. If you'd like to learn more about that, we have a really great informational publication at the site below where you can find out about specific butterflies and their overwintering needs. So ideally then with this, you want to leave dead perennials up after winter till about mid-May, or you can leave them up longer than that. You can also leave some areas with fallen leaves all year round, or at least until late May. For pesticides, ideally don't use them. Systemic pesticides will migrate throughout the plant and persist in the soil if they've been applied as a soil drench. We don't know whether they may or may not accumulate in pollen or nectar. It may differ from chemical to chemical or plant to plant. And even herbicides and fungicides can impact the health of pollinators, including butterflies. All right. So now I will talk about just a very few plants here for your butterfly garden. Keep in mind there are hundreds of plants that you could use. So you can use annuals, perennials, herbs, trees, and shrubs. And while natives may be best, non-natives, in my opinion, also have a role to play in supporting butterflies. So let's start out with some annuals. These are non-native. Lantana is a plant for sun, really heat tolerant, and it does come in different colors, orange to pink to red to lavender. Another one that's recommended is Mexican sunflower, a very tall plant blooming August through October, and it's really beloved in the fall especially. Stick verbena or Verbena bonariensis is another one that's greatly appreciated by butterflies. It's really easy to grow. The one caveat is that it does tend to seed. Some perennials. For early season butterflies, Virginia bluebells are lovely native plants. They do form colonies and tend to seed. However, they go dormant in mid to late June, so you need to be prepared for some holes in your garden when that happens. They like average to moist soils and partial shade. And wonderfully, they do tolerate rabbits and black walnut as well. To support those monarchs, milkweeds are really important. These are two species, both of which like full sun. Swamp milkweed is pink and 3 to 5 feet tall, needs moist to wet soils, blooming in July to August, whereas butterfly flower milkweed is orange, just brilliant, and much shorter, 12 to 24 inches, and it needs pretty dry soils with good drainage and blooms June to August. Joe pieweed is a rather large native plant, over 6 feet tall, that needs decent moisture, blooms July to September. I would recommend, though, getting one of the nativars, which are cultivated forms of this native plant. We have in our teaching garden the one called Phantom. They're much shorter and they don't require any sort of staking or tying in order to keep them upright. Gayfeather or Liatris is another great native, blooming July to September. Some of them are taller and may need staking, or you may be able to get a nativar that's shorter in height. And these need full sun to do their best and in average to dry soils. Herb plants. Many herbs are suitable for butterflies. Some are used as larval host plants, such as parsley and dill for swallowtails. Just a couple of trees here. Allegheny serviceberry. We do have a couple species of native serviceberry here in Wisconsin, and they all have wonderful white flowers very early in the spring. They have great fall color and produce berries that attract birds. Pagoda dogwood is a native for partly shaded sites, has wonderful horizontal branching, and it blooms in May. The butterflies like those flowers, but also it is a larval host for the spring and summer azure butterflies, and it produces nice fruit for the birds as well. For a very large scale tree, American linden is a Wisconsin native that has wonderfully fragrant flowers in early to mid-June, and it supports over 150 species of different caterpillars. A couple of shrubs here. Black chokeberry, also called aronia, is a Wisconsin native. The straight species is quite tall and suckering, but there are nativars that are quite a bit shorter. The nativars often come in a larger variety of fall color, but the straight species has the wonderful red fall color, as do some of the nativars. They prefer moist sites, and they will take some clay. They prefer full sun, but they will tolerate some shade as well. And they tolerate flooding too. So if you have a very wet area, this is a great plant for you. The native buttonbush is quite a large shrub, but again, there are some nativars that are available that are shorter, such as the wonderfully named Sputnik. And butterflies really enjoy the flowers. It's also a larval host for over 18 different species of butterflies and moths. This plant takes average to wet soils, not great for dry soils. And the final one here is Clethra, sweet pepper bush, another native with fragrant white or pink flowers in July. Butterflies love that nectar. And this is for, if you found it in nature, you'd find it in moist woodlands. So partial shade is good. It can take full sun though if the soil is moist enough. You do want to avoid hot, dry sites. So this is a fairly small scale plant and really fits into the garden nicely, and it will have golden fall color if it's in enough sun. Finishing up here, we have various resources online. I mentioned the Southern Wisconsin Butterfly Association. They do butterfly counts and have some field trips. Great website to check out. Also, Wisconsin Butterflies has a ton of information. Just pointing out here the butterfly article at the Wisconsin Extension Horticulture site. And that's on creating butterfly gardens, as well as there's one there that has our list of plants for butterflies. I also recommend the book Common Butterflies of Wisconsin with Native Host and Nectar Plants by Randy Powers. Thank you. I appreciate your attending this talk today.